Felicetti versus Shaheen Soorani. It's over in Standard. So, in the X and 3 bracket, these teams need wins to keep their top 4 hopes alive. So, in Standard, we have Esper versus 4-color Saheeli. Scape Shift from Dan Musser versus Obzon from Michael Derzo in Modern. And the Legacy matchup, Daryl Ayers on lands versus Joshua Taylor on colorless Eldrazi. The Legacy matchup, this is one what? Both players are kind of trying to lock the other player out first.
Yeah, they're not really trying to actually play Magic. Well, one of them is. The idea is that the other person doesn't.
Right, so it's either Joshua Taylor chalices Daryl out of the game, or Daryl, wastelands Joshua out of the game.
It's what you sign up for when you register either of these decks.
So we are looking into Standard between the two. Ted starting off on a pair of lands, but no green mana source yet, so no, say, Servant of the Conduit. First play from Felicetti will be a copy of Saheeli Rai.
And already, Soorani is going to have to pay mind to that combo.
Yeah, this is actually a strong play, especially in this control mirror. And you see Shaheen very quickly anguished on making the Saheeli Rai. Because that threat isn't something that, Shaheen's not going to attack down the Planeswalker ever.
Right.
Ted will replace his Planeswalker with another. It's going to be Chandra. She exiles away a copy of Felidar Guardian. He can't cast that right yet. Then Shaheen will exile away that Planeswalker, though he's taking a lot of damage here. Down to 11.
Only one Sorin and Grim Nemesis in the deck. Outside of Shambling Vent, that's going to be Shaheen's way to gain life.
Shaheen missing a land. Saheeli Rai, another Planeswalker from Ted. There are no more Anguished Unmakings in Shaheen's deck, so...
That might be a boon if you look at his life total. He's in a lot of trouble already.
Well, I don't think his deck is not prepared necessarily for someone to just drop a Planeswalker every turn. That's kind of playing the Shaheen game plan.
Especially if he's not hitting land drops. If he's able to get to 4, he does have the one Gideon ally as Zendikar. He does have a couple Ruinous Path as well. If he's able to go up his curve and cast Torrential Gearhulk, he can potentially clean things up, but getting stuck on lands, he is in a lot of trouble.
Anticipate finds him a copy of Evolving Wilds. So he is shields down to Felidar Guardian right now, and Ted says, I have it. I'm going to draw, untap, cast it. And then I'm going to combo you. And Shaheen has Fatal Push-Up, so the Evolving Wilds does play here. Can trigger Revolt thanks to the Evolving Wilds. It seems like Ted thought that was just a locked-up win with the way he played it there, not realizing that there was an out.
Yeah.
So game is still going.
And the Shambling Vent can actually take down the Saheeli on 1.
Yeah, it looks like it may have been an oversight on Ted's side, and he's going to pay a pretty hefty price for that. You see, he had the option to cast Cloud Blazer that turn and copy that with Saheeli Rai. That seems like it would have been the better play.
It was better than trading your board for 1 mana and an attack with a creature land?
Yeah, the draw 4, gain 4. Yeah,
I'm inclined to agree.
He's not done yet. So, yeah, Shaheen does use Shambling Vent to take Saheeli Rai off the board. But Ted is going to have to recover here. Tireless Tracker and Land 6 nets him a clue. Still has Saheeli Rai and Cloud Blazer in hand, it looks like.
We'll see if Soorani can start getting out of these mana woes.
Yeah, he needs to make lands, but threats like Tireless Tracker should be okay from Soorani's side. If you ever watch the decks, they're always very good at taking care of creatures.
Yes.
Shaheen will grasp away the Tireless Tracker. He cleans up the board, but Ted did get a card off the 3-2.
Yes, it at least replaced itself, as many of his cards do.
Speaking of that, Cloud Blazer, that does one better than replacing itself. Draws him a copy of Oath of Nissa. He'll cast that off Ether Hub. He lost, he cast it off Ether Hub, finds Tireless Tracker. -1 energy there based on the way he tapped his lands.
Yep. His deck's not super energy hungry, though. And he has plenty of different colors of mana available without that hub, as you see 7 lands on the battlefield in total now.
Shaheen just has to stay alive here. He's got a 7-card hand. He's got Grasp of Darkness, Ruinous Path, Fumigate, Obnixilis Sorin, Torrential Gearhulk. It's just a huge amount of heavy hitters if he can only figure out a way to get them into play. Tireless Tracker land from Ted, and not just any land, it's going to be Evolving Wilds.
And Ted is basically keeping up on cards in hand with this Tireless Tracker if it survives, and is generating a sizable board presence as well.
Yeah, if the creatures Ted keeps playing are Tireless Trackers, Rogue Refiners, and Cloud Blazers, then Shaheen's Grip of Kill spells doesn't actually do that much. Ted will crack one clue. Counter on Tracker. If he goes for the Evolving Wilds, we'll see whether that's enough to get Grasp of Darkness. He says go. Instead, he gets to have the extra clue. He says go. On end step, Shaheen is going to grasp down the Tracker. Ted gets another land and another clue in response. Go back to Shaheen. He draws another blue Gearhulk, just like we drew it up. 7 cards in hand, still trying to figure out a way to cast them. Could not cast a second Grasp of Darkness on Cloud Blazer, as he does have a basic Plains in play. Blazer hits Shaheen down to 7. Rogue Refiner. Ted continues to play these kind of throwaway threats.
Yep, every threat that replaces itself is problematic, and as Shaheen continues to miss land drops, it becomes harder and harder to keep pace here. I believe he does have a Fumigate. If he can find a 5th mana source untapped, he can undo some of the damage here. And then if he can find a 6th land and start casting Torrential Gearhulk, we could be looking at a very different game.
Some good discipline, though, by Ted. He has another Rogue Refiner, and we're going to see how he has the mana but doesn't actually commit it to the board here. He is heads up to the Fumigate possibility.
Shaheen found a land, but it was Choked Estuary.
Well, that enters the battlefield tapped. Over in Modern, Dan Musser on Scapeshift wins game 1 over Michael Derzo.
Scapeshift, I believe, has a generally favorable matchup against Abzan.
It's the land-based decks, yeah, they tend to be pretty decent against the 3-color builds. Another Rogue Refiner now for Felicetti. And Saheeli Rai. At this point, sure, he's fine if his board gets swept. He's getting so many cards. He's going for the kill. The copy will give haste. We'll try to copy Rogue Refiner. Shaheen is at the ready, though, with Grasp of Darkness. Goes to 2. 6th land. He has the option of Fumigate and Sorin.
Torrential Gearhulk as well, though not terribly exciting instance in the graveyard.
Harness Lightning in the hand for Ted. If Shaheen's going to try to stabilize with a blocker, it's going to be rough. Fumigate would be safe, but he'd be dead to Felidar Guardian. I don't know at this point if Shaheen's even contesting the combo. Doesn't look like it. He'll Fumigate.
Part of the argument for Gearhulk on this turn is that he needs to be able to pressure the Saheeli, but may as well leave himself dead to the combo. He's probably dead to it anyway.
While Shaheen is trying to stay alive. Meanwhile, his teammates cleaning up. In what is probably a favorable matchup, Dale Ayers takes game 1 out in Legacy as well. And Ted played land 11, but then did nothing else. And now this gives Shaheen the opportunity to cast Sorin Grim Nemesis. And Sorin immediately swipes down the Saheeli Rai. And this may be the thing that turns the tables.
What Ted's looking at from here is just trying to combo off in one turn.
Okay, here's one. He goes Oath of Nissa, finds Felidar Guardian. Felidar Guardian flickers Oath of Nissa. If he finds Saheeli Rai, it's a combo out of nowhere. He finds a Tireless Tracker or another Felidar Guardian. He'll take Tracker. Play it, and yes, of course he has another land. Gets another clue.
So he's had 1 Guardian exiled, one's in his graveyard, one's in the battlefield, one's now on the bottom of his library. So he needs this one to stick around to combo.
Yeah, but Shaheen, tons of action. 3 Gearhulks, Ruinous Path. At the very least in his hand, and onboard Sorin. He's going to try, if he can clean this up, he'll be just fine. Looks like he even has his 2nd copy of Fumigate.
Yep, and these are 2 creatures on the ground. That's not going to be difficult for Torrential Gearhulk to mess that one up.
Yeah, this is now a play for strength from Shaheen. The Fumigate's a fine play, but I think he's looking to see if he can do more. Fumigate, like, have control over the combo and over the board.
Yes.
Sorin does some overkill on Tireless Tracker. minus the full 4, so Shaheen gains more life up to 9. And then he says go. Not really the line I expected, but this is interesting. It looks like he's trying to set up a really good blue Gear Hulk. You know, most players wouldn't let the Planeswalker go in that situation.
He used 4 loyalty there, and the tracker could only get to 3 toughness with the clue.
Guardian swings. I guess the idea is with this late game he has, it's so strong, so many blue Gear Hulks, that life points are kind of everything. You see Nahiri discard and draw from Ted. Land go, and now we see the first blue Gear Hulk. It will use its ability to Grasp of Darkness away the Felidar Guardian. Ted will harness lightning down the Gear Hulk to protect his own Nahiri, down to 2 energy. Fatal push a draw from Shaheen. If he has something like an Evolving Wilds, he's now protected from the combo.
I believe he has Ruinous Path if he wants to take care of this Nahiri as well.
Does it take his whole turn, or can he do that and more?
He's been pretty glutted on 5 and 6 mana spells. I imagine it would be his full turn.
See what he decides. I guess until Nahiri's at 8, it's not a huge threat to his deck.
And if he spends his turn Gear Hulking, then he can start pressuring that anyway. It'd be more inviting to Gear Hulk if he already had a Glimmer of Genius in his graveyard.
It looks like he's going to pass. He still has a Grasp of Darkness in his graveyard, so he is protected against the combo as it stands. We go back to Ted, a discard and a draw. Gets rid of a forest, finds a Saheeli-Rai. There's half the combo.
Yeah, the other Guardian, as you'll recall, the last Guardian is on the bottom of Felicetti's library. He needs this Nahiri to actually find it or to be able to shuffle his deck.
Oh yeah, because there's the Oath of Nissa earlier on where he passed on Felidar Guardian. He took the Tireless Tracker. We see end step. Torrential Gear Hulk, Anguished Unmaking on Nahiri. Another Harness Lightning from Felicetti. So Shaheen goes down to 4 from that Anguished Unmaking. But Nahiri's gone, which means Ted can't get that Guardian off the bottom of his deck again.
It will take a lot of scries with Saheeli to get him back there. More than enough to kill Shaheen.
We see Ruinous Path awakened from Shaheen. Take care of that Saheeli-Rai. Put some counters on something. He might even put it on Shambling Vent. Just get a big lifelink swing in.
Yeah, that would be good.
He's going to go ahead and spread it out, though. It looks like putting it on a blue-black dual land. Back over to Felicetti. He is being run out of resources. Can he rebuild yet again?
Significantly more lands for Felicetti than Soorani. And a deck that's trying to cast much leaner spells.
Well, I think what we're seeing here is that Shaheen's deck is capable of kind of removal spelling Ted's out of the game. You know, think about Ted's list right now, and it's not just that he doesn't have any more threats in hand. It's that he's running out of threats in his library. You know, we've already killed most of the Felidar Guardians. The one Cloud Blazer's gone. The trackers are gone. There's still 2 Ishkana left, but it's, you know, there's not many ways to win the game left for Ted. And Shaheen, a 3rd Torrential Gear Hulk, flashes back Anticipate, and now he pulls ahead. Finding a copy of Disallow, it looks like. And he's going to start adding life points to the mix. A swing of the 4/4 land, the 2/3 creature land, and the Torrential Gear Hulk is a big hit. It's for 11. Ted drops to 7. Shaheen up to 6. And one last shot for Felicetti. He'll go ahead and cast Rogue Refiner to draw a card. Servant of the Conduit. It looks like he just has lands left, though.
Yep, just a couple of chump blockers here.
Yeah, Shaheen's holding at least 1 Disallow in hand.
Looks like he's eyeing a fatal push on that Rogue Refiner. cracks Evolving Wilds to make it so.
The 3-2 is down. And that means Shaheen just swings that, makes the same attack this turn. It is a lethal one.
Yeah, any combination of 2 of the 4/4 Sunken Hollow, the Shambling Vent, and the Torrential Gearhulk's lethal, or just destroying the creature.
Nixilis, blow up the blocker. And quite the comeback here after being stuck on lands for so long. Shaheen Soorani espers his way to a win game 1. So his team sweeps the game 1s, pulling a strong lead for the round.
And for Felicetti, you're probably thinking a lot about the turn where he tried to combo into the Fatal Push.
Yeah, and you know, it was one of those things where you could tell by his pacing, it was just an oversight. You know, you think, I believe Felicetti believed that he had the combo regardless. Like there was no, there was no way Shaheen could answer it. Just,
right.
It missed. You see only 1 mana up because of the tap land, Evolving Wilds, and you say, oh, well, Grasp costs 2, you can't kill it, boom, I got you. And then Shaheen says, no, you don't.
And that'll happen when you're this deep into a tournament. You do get mentally exhausted.
So let's look over the sideboards then. Shaheen Soorani now up a game. And his board control deck gets to go toward a lot more ways, I guess, to kill creatures.
Speaking of the sideboard, there are 3 Flaying Tendrils, 2 Kalitas, Trader of Get, 2 Liliana the Last Hope, 2 Negate, 2 Transgress the Mind, a Disallow, an Immolating Glare, an Nixilis Reignited, and a Sphinx of the Final Word. Of these, the card that I would expect the most is Transgress the Mind. Try to break up the combo, get some of these value creatures out of Ted's hand, and also see what's up. Know how far he is from actually comboing you out. And Negate just to go a little bit leaner and counter the Planeswalkers out of a deck like this. That one makes sense to me as well.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see just how many Planeswalkers he's putting Ted on. We've seen some pretty different builds of this 4-color Saheeli deck. Some of them very heavy on Planeswalkers. Other ones have been a much lighter. So something like Negate, it's questionable how good it is in this matchup.
It has varying quality, that's for sure.
Yeah, now on Ted's side, he actually has a lot of ways to fight against a control deck of his own. A huge counterspell package of dispels and negates.
Yeah, if there's this many dispels and negates in the sideboard, I have to imagine the plan against a controlling deck involves just trying to aggressively combo with counter backup. So 3 dispels, 2 negates, good chance all of that's coming in. The Planeswalker package also seems reasonable here. There's going to be games where you're just not able to combo and you have to keep up on cards.
All right, for those of you joining us, thanks again. This is our first team event ever in Season 1. We have a lot more events coming. We told you about the first Modern Open. That's going to be next weekend in Indianapolis. But we have a full schedule of events here in Season 1. We'll be coming to a place near you. We have a Modern event in Dallas in March before we play our April Legacy Open. This is the Legacy Open of Season 1 in Worcester, Massachusetts. We'll make our trip down around through the South for a Standard Open in Atlanta, and in May we come to Louisville for Standard Open before we end the season back here in Baltimore for Modern, in Charlotte for Modern, and then our Season 1 Invitational. That's June 30th through July 2nd, Modern and Standard in Roanoke, Virginia.
A lot of great stops. Go play any of the 3 formats, Standard, Modern, and Legacy, and be sure to get your qualification for that Season 1 Invitational. That tournament is going to be excellent. That's going to be at home in Roanoke. And expect that to be a really good one.
Yeah. All right, so up a game here. Shaheen Soorani. So it actually works that when we put his name up on the screen, it just automatically puts Esper Control after him whenever we have him on
it's
camera.
It's like an autocomplete thing. If you try to Google Shaheen Soorani, it will say Shaheen Soorani Esper Control.
That's almost certainly true.
That's got to be true.
The 33-year-old, history teacher from Norfolk, Virginia. I believe it's history. It's definitely a teacher, though. 9 open top 8s and 1 win. Probably the most impressive thing, the 5 invitational top 8s for Shaheen.
Yes. 10 Esper Control decks.
I believe so. I don't even think that's an exaggeration.
It's probably true.
And now looking with teammates to make it into the top 4 of our first constructed team open. Teammates Dan Musser and Daryl Ayers. One of the strengths you really get with a team like this is you can get each player playing something they're very strong with. You have Daryl Ayers playing lands over in Legacy, one of the innovators and experts of that archetype. And you get to have Shaheen on Esper, which is always great. Dan Musser also some results of Scapeshift of his own.
Dan Musser is a player that has a very wide range as well. Plenty of decks in the arsenal for him.
their team winning all the game ones. Just 2 more games from them will win the round. We'll go back, though. This is for Felicetti on the play, game 2 against Soorani. And last game, he pressed a mana advantage, did Ted, enough that it looked like he was going to win it for a while.
Got Soorani to a very low life total, and in fact, were Soorani not able to cast that Sorin Grim Nemesis, likely would have just died in combat at some point in that game.
At this point, the success continues. 1 handshake is already in the books, and it's the modern match. Dan Musser, a clean 2-0 winner over Michael Derczo. And that's not one of the ones I guess the Felicetti team wanted to lose. This means that Joshua Taylor is going to have to take both sideboarded games against Daryl Ayers and lands.
Looks like they're pretty far along in that game 2 down there.
Yeah, no more room for error on the side of Felicetti, Derczo, and Taylor.
And Felicetti looks to be scrying, so he's locked in on 6 cards, it looks to be.
All right, so a keep on 6 for Felicetti. Servant of the Conduit is his turn to play. We go back over to Shaheen. Plays a dual land showing a basic, so both untapped. Now has Grasp of Darkness mana up. It'll be the Rogue Refiner for Felicetti. Draws and says go, hits for 2. Shaheen having left up Negate there for the possible Planeswalker. He also has the backup of Anticipate.
In addition to representing Grasp of Darkness with Shambling Vent plus Choke Estuary.
Draws second Negate here. Hand pretty interesting. It looks like multiple Negates and Anticipates. Says go. It can be pretty good in this fight. However, if Ted just keeps making these Rogue Refiner style cards, this hand doesn't play very well.
Right. He just gets beaten up by a 3-2 and a 2-2.
A swing for 5. So Ted will get. Shaheen's going to go ahead and Grasp before Dam. He actually takes the full 5, and then when Ted has no play, no Planeswalker, Shaheen end step grasps it.
You see Felicetti not too interested into heavily committing into a Fumigate.
No. Picks up a Johnny Unyielding, he'll cast that. But certainly if Shaheen was gonna, there's a read here, right? If Shaheen did the end step Grasp of Darkness play, and you're in Ted's spot, you have to think, oh, well, that means Shaheen has a counter spell.
There's also just the chance that he was sitting on it to deal with Felidar Guardian, but you're right, it does strongly suggest that there's a counter spell in hand.
So Negate snags the Johnny Unyielding. Shaheen goes down to 11, and then end step gets a basic. Gets a second blue now, so disallow, and those is now online. Shaheen doing a good job of keeping the board clean, save a Servant of the Conduit. Tap land and says go. He had the option to go for a Kalidas there, but not wanting to tap out just yet.
Yep, and I believe he has a basic island for his 6th land in hand. He'll be able to cast that and leave up some spells next turn.
Ted tries another Planeswalker with Saheeli Rai, but Shaheen says no. He negates that. And then anticipates on end steps. Shaheen doing all the steps that you'd expect a control deck to do.
Yep. Unlike game 1, his deck is just executing this time.
Ted not able to stick anything except for these hits for 2 off Servant to the Conduit. Shaheen continues to make land drops. Looks like Choked Estuary showing a basic swamp. He's up to 6 lands now. Disallow in hand, Kalitas in hand. Dispel the pickup for Ted. He might be able to fight over a card. And now he just has to say go because Shaheen's representing Shambling Vent.
And with Dispel, he's able to fight over a card, but he spent all the ones worth fighting over.
Yeah, I mean, you could have countered the Anticipate. That doesn't do much. Shaheen land just says go. Both players are going to play land go. Look, Shaheen end step Glimmer of Genius. Is this worth the Dispel? Yeah, Ted says, decides it is.
Is this worth the Disallow?
And that's an interesting one.
Shaheen also has Torrential Gearhulk.
Yeah.
He can just wait and flash back the Glimmer.
And yes, it is. He's going to disallow and then a negate from Ted. So Ted does win the counter war. For now, at least. Shaheen, land number 8, says go. He has the Gear Hulk Glimmer all set up. Healy Rye for Ted. Good part about Gear Hulk is it can flash back anything, not just Glimmer.
Since we're a more powerful Planeswalker, you might see a Gear Hulk counterspell. With just a Healy Rye, good chance Soorani just wants to Gear Hulk for the Glimmer of Genius.
Well, right, and then and that's what he's going to do. He's going to cast Gear Hulk for Glimmer, but then he also just gets to attack Saheeli Rai.
Being a 5/6 is a good ability.
Yeah. That's something Snapcaster Mage doesn't do. So, end step, Torrential Gear Hulk, Glimmer of Genius. 2 to the bottom, draw 2 different ones. Among them, Grasp of Darkness and another blue Gear Hulk. That's just about perfect.
Yes. And with 2 Torrential Gear Hulks, it's pretty easy to actually close a game.
He'll grasp away the blocker. And if Shaheen gets to untap, he's going to have a clean board, a 5/6, and another Gear Hulk in hand. That's just about it. Saheeli Rai down, land, go for Shaheen. He's got a fast clock. He's got some unconditional removal. This is going his way perfectly. Chandra's the play. And Shaheen, you see, he wanted a Torrential Gear Hulk there, and now he thinks, wait, I don't have to do that. Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, that thing only goes up to 5. That's fine.
The best counter spell is the one you never have to cast. And that's what's happening for Shaheen. Chandra gets a free Traverse the Ulfin Vault. This is all good, but I think Shaheen still feels like he can deal with it.
He can't traverse for a full combo, and even if he could, Shaheen has Gear Hulk to interact with it. The art of control is largely discipline, patience, and the desire to do nothing.
Shaheen has done a great job of just that. Traverse finds Tireless Tracker, but he can't cast it yet this turn. And now we see the Gear Hulk on end step. Getting back Anticipate. Finding, it looks like another Disallow. Pretty hard to argue this. 10 power on the board and a hard counter in your hand.
Yep. You saw Obnick's list. That one doesn't matter too much on this board. He's already got his route to win the game. And hey, another Torrential Gear Hulk.
This is just, when it rains, it pours. Shaheen swings for 5 and takes care of the Chandra.
Hand is Disallow, Torrential Gear Hulk. Mana to cast them both on the same turn. An opponent at 15 life. This is looking mighty good for Soorani.
Tireless Tracker resolves. End step Soorani is going to go ahead and flash back a kill spell. Ted tries to dispel. Shaheen counters that as well, and that is going to be game 2 for Shaheen Soorani. So in the perfect 5-0 sweep, it is a dominant showing by Soorani, and Ayers, not even letting Daryl Ayers finish the second Legacy game.
I know y'all are having fun down there, but we're done.